So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 42 of the series, and in the last episode, we saw a lot of things happen. We saw a lot of economical alliances being formed, such as the economical alliance over here in North America, consisting of a lot of Quebec, Ontario, and the northeastern United States. We saw the Old Empire form their economical pact, which became very huge. They had a lot of African countries join it. They also had all of their military allies, such as Iberia, Norway, and the White Team join it. We saw various amounts of wars, such as a war over here in South Africa, one over here in South America, and the Purple Team's Western conquest. And most notably, we saw a lot of nuclear bombs be built. Russia now sits at 40 total nuclear bombs, which is one more than the Old Empire. In this episode, we'll see a little bit of war. A lot of war, actually, because the world's escalations, lately they've been on the slight decline. The Cold War is kind of cooling down, but it's going to start heating up very soon. Whether it be because of conquest or nuclear buildup or genocide or just anything like that, there's a lot of reasons as to why there might be some wars happening in this video. But most importantly, if you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All of that support is greatly appreciated. We're getting towards the end of the year now. It's officially December for you guys. This is a pre-recorded video. This is my last civilization video that is pre-recorded, so yay. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So, like I said, in this episode, there's going to be a whole lot of war, and we're going to start actually in Western Europe, which has been very peaceful as of lately, until the Purple Team made itself known. Yeah, they expanded into Western Europe, and now there are a few countries that are slightly worried about their expansion. Of course, they're aligned with the Old Empire, and they're not officially in their alliance, but they are aligned with them, which means that if you mess with these guys, you might also be messing with these guys. And what do we know about these guys? Well, strongest country in the world. That's all you need to know. They're looking to expand westward and to kind of reunite their fractured empire, because remember, at the beginning of the series, the Purple Team was a pretty strong country. They had a lot of land. And we can take a look at the religion map, because now the religion map is becoming very important for multiple reasons, but mostly right now we're looking at Western Europe. So, what do we know about this yellow religion here? Well, it is the religion of the Purple Team. They are the ones that spread it. And by looking at this religion map, we can kind of see where their empire was and what regions they're trying to take back. So, of course, they want the whole Italian Union, but unfortunately for them, they're probably not going to get it, as the Old Empire holds a pretty good stake of it. Same thing could be said about some of the Balkans down here, the coastal area of Albania. They're most likely not going to get that area back, but I think they could probably live without it. But once we look over here towards the west, we see a whole bunch of opportunity. This red team here, the dark purple team, which actually stems from the Purple Team. They broke away from the Purple Team a very long time ago. But it even goes into Iberia down to the dark cyan team. Now this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because the dark cyan team does have the same religion as the Purple Team. They are, thanks to that, the Purple Team is the reason that the dark cyan team exists, I think. Might have to open the history book on that one though, because the dark cyan team is really old. I honestly can't remember, but it's not a bad assumption. So, Purple Team is obviously looking to unite their people, or I guess their religious peoples. And hey, this red country right here, they're in the way. And also, they're unaligned. They're not in any official alliance, so the Purple Team will go ahead and start their invasion. Now, the Red Team is a former part of the Brown Team up here. The Brown Team has claims over the Red Team. Of course, they lost it in World War II. It's been here for a few years now, but the Purple Team wants it. Historically, this is their land before it was the Brown Team's land. But the Brown Team isn't too happy about this, especially after the Purple Team cuts this country off from the coast. So the Brown Team is going to threaten the Purple Team, saying, hey, leave this country alone because it's our country, it's our claim, and if you take it all, well, we might just have to declare war and possibly use one of our nukes on you. And the Purple Team looks at this and, well, they laugh because, once again, aligned with the Old Empire, and that's not a number to mess with. No, that's 39 nukes. I don't think the Old Empire would use them, but, protecting an ally, or I guess an acquaintance, it's kind of important sometimes, especially when they're in your economical alliance. So the Old Empire comes over, and they're like, hey, don't do it. And the Brown Team's like, okay, fine. How about we do this instead? How about we partition the Red Team between me and you? I have claims over this land. You have claims over this land. Can we make this work? Let's look at the religion map. Yeah, not realistically, but a new deal is opened up. One that has economical implications. The Purple Team, the Old Empire, and the Brown Team kind of worked this one out. Now remember, the Old Empire and the Brown Team go way back. Of course, the Brown Team used to be the strongest country in the world, and the Old Empire came about, and the Brown Team lost World War II, yada, yada, yada. Now it's fractured. They aren't really that close anymore, but there was a time period, I think after World War I, where they were relatively close to each other, or maybe before World War I, where they were relatively close. They had friendly relations. They weren't ever allies or anything like that, but that did exist. That was a thing for a time. And I think the people of these countries most likely have like an unfavorable view of each other. But since, that historical friendliness was there, it may not be as bad as per se, relations between the Old Empire and the Dark Green Country. That is pure hatred. But the Old Empire is going to actually walk in. The Old Empire is going to actually walk into the room with the brown team and the purple team and be like, yo, I have an idea. In order to kind of bring peace to Western Europe and to stop any further straining of relations, I think we should propose a treaty of which makes everyone happy. And both of these countries buy in, and then the Old Empire goes around and they invite the French country to the conference. So now we have these Western European and I guess Eurasian powers, Afro-Eurasian powers, discussing peace and kind of cooperation in Western Europe. The Old Empire wants to ensure that if a war ever does break out between them and Russia and China, that they don't have any problems elsewhere in the world. And that includes Western Europe. The brown team could be a thorn since they have nukes. So what do we see out of this new treaty? Well, first of all, the surrounding neighbors of the red team all jump them. That includes the purple team and the brown team. What is happening? That includes both the purple and brown and green teams. So there was a joint military operation to get rid of them. And then we have the Conference of Peace, in which this country is divided up. And that partitioning of this country will look something like this. Now, the brown team isn't too excited about this. As you can see, they got the least amount of land. And even to an extent, the purple team isn't too happy about it because they wanted the whole thing. They're not going to be getting the whole thing. But there are some positives to that. They're negotiating with the Old Empire and all these other countries to hopefully bring about sustaining peace in Western Europe. And a small price to pay for that is just not getting as much land as you want, which I think the purple team, they are kind of aggressive in their expansion, but I think in the grand scheme of things, they would be okay with it. So let's go ahead and color these claims in. France gets that, the brown team gets this, and the rest goes over to the purple team. So these are our new borders of Western Europe. But yeah, step one is complete. We have, number one, removed the red country from existence. No one really liked those guys anyway. And number two, we are now looking at the economical and future kind of implications of this treaty. So first of all, and most importantly, the brown team just joins the Old Empire's economical alliance. That's nothing too big, right? Immediately after this happens, Russia is like, oh shit, because that's not supposed to happen. That's not good. You don't want a nuclear power getting friendly with the Old Empire. Number two, what we have happening here is, first of all, the brown team joins the economical alliance, which is one thing. It's not a currency alliance, so there's no official obligation to change your currency, whereas the Green Star Alliance, that is an obligation to change your currency. And the same thing for the trapezoid. Yeah, these guys have to change their currency. So pretty much every other economical alliance in the world is a currency change economical alliance. But this new right triangle one, that is not a currency change. You don't have to change your currency to be in this economical alliance. But the purple team will get a discounted percentage off imported goods from the brown team for a certain amount of time. You guys can make it up for yourselves. If you want it to be a million years, sure. If you want it to be 1 second, go ahead. It's up to you guys. I think the average would probably be like 5 to 10 years. Once again, that interpretation is up to you guys. But the purple team gets discounted goods. And now as for the French team, they are being forced to get rid of the triangle team. Interesting, kind of weird aspect of this peace treaty, but they go ahead, get rid of the Triangle Alliance, which gets rid of their obligation to defend the Dark Purple team. May God be with you, because someone is hungry. But in exchange for, getting rid of their alliance, they are then guaranteed independence, which means they are in a defensive pact with the brown team. So basically the French country just traded its ally for a new one, being the brown team. And to kind of symbolize this defensive pact between the two nations, oh, there's not really a shield emoji. Actually, this is kind of close if I flip it. Yeah, there we go. But to symbolize this defensive pact, which is not the same as an alliance, I'll be putting this blue shield on the border between the brown team and the French team. Eventually this will expire, but for now it is there. That is kind of what everyone gets from this treaty. The purple team gets its way in the way that, they get land still. They get discounted goods from the brown team, and they also kind of maybe have a route to getting this land back in the future. The green team gets land from this, and they also get protection from the brown team. And the brown team from this gets access to the Old Empire's economical alliance, and gets a little bit of land. But they do also get the obligation to protect the French country. So that's kind of like this circle here. It was a big step for international politics, especially on the old empire's front, since a lot of countries view them as imperial. But now Russia's going to look at this and they're going to be like, yo, not cool. So instead of, maybe forming an economical alliance or doing some kind of negotiations, they're going to declare war on a country. And the country they're going to be declaring war on is this seafoam green, beautiful color country over here, also known as Siberia. This country is terrified, and they're going to cry out for help, saying, hey, international community, please do not let these guys nuke us, because they will. They have done it before. They did it to our neighbors. We are terrified, and Russia will right out the gate say, hey, we're not going to nuke you. Calm down. We're just going to invade you and, do all the horrible conventional war things. We're not going to, disintegrate you or anything like that. So that promise is made, and it's kind of respected by the international community, which is sad because, this is still a conventional war. They're declaring war. They're going to kill a lot of civilians in this war. But since they're not using nukes, it's okay, right? Good. Anyway, Russia's invasion of the seafoam green country, also one of my favorite countries, begins. They will mainly focus in over here in the radiated areas, interestingly enough, hoping to achieve mutant status. Not really, but that would be kind of funny. But the Russian army sees little to no resistance in their push through this empty country as they reach over to this lake, which I know the name of, but forgot. And since I don't care enough, I will not be looking it up. But the Russian army is having a lot of success, and they near the capital of this country. And this is the point now where the Cold War gets a little interesting, because the old empire will start supplying this country with troops, not their own troops, volunteer troops, which are not equipped with their own equipment. And that's because they don't want the Russians to get a hold of some of their secret technology. So they won't send them with the newer stuff. They'll send them with some older old empire equipment. In addition to that, they also send that equipment over to the government of this country, basically sending them their old used stuff and some troops in hopes of protecting them. And when these guys eventually do arrive, they actually serve as a pretty good counteroffensive against the Russians, now going across the lake and taking back some vital areas. So looking at the major cities of this country, there are actually quite a few, and it doesn't make too much sense because, there's some up here, and really this is like a frozen wasteland of nothingness, so not very livable. I might actually just go ahead and erase some of these kind of cities. Just a few, not too many though. But the counteroffensive carried out by the seafoam green country is successful. They take back one of their major cities and are threatening the Russians in other areas, even taking back yet another major city. But once the Russians start a spearhead up north, capturing this major city and capturing a few other in the central part of this country, things start to collapse. And eventually, their counteroffensive is all for nothing as Russia takes back both of these two major cities, which also happen to be two of their most populated cities. The most populated is their capital, followed by this one, then this one, then this one. So losing these two is big, not good. And if they lose this one, they might be screwed. And it looks like that might be happening though, because this spearhead is taking a turn down south, and Russia is rapidly advancing both the capital city and this city from the north. Okay, so it looks like this country may not last. They're losing the war to Russia, and if we take a look at this war without the provinces, not looking good. But it can always be worse, right? Yeah, of course. China joins the war, not on the side of Russia, but on their own side. This is devastating. Very many Chinese troops, I can't tell you how many, but a lot, cross the border and instantly start a very large-scale one frontline invasion of the seafoam green country. Also, unironically love the name of the color, seafoam green. It just sounds good. I guess you could also say it's like mint, like a mint color, but I think seafoam green is just more satisfying. With China's invasion of this country, the old empire will go ahead and stop sending volunteers, stop sending equipment, because all hope is lost with this thing. It is falling apart very quickly. Remember that really populated city I was telling you about? Yeah, the Russians just got it. And the battle of the capital city is underway as Russian troops enter the province and encircle the city. Elsewhere, Chinese troops are pushing toward the Russians, but aren't really too willing to engage, so they kind of keep their distance from each other, leaving this kind of no man's land in between. Remember, this Cold War is not just between the old empire and Russia, it's also between Russia and China and the old empire. It is a three-way Cold War, also known as a tripolar system Cold War. But as this little buffer zone is kind of just happening over here, we will continue to see China push around and take as many major cities as possible, kind of impeding on Russia a little bit, who might be a little bit salty about their taking of major cities, since capturing cities gets you a little bit more war score, which actually isn't a real fundamental philosophy war score doesn't exist. It's a video game term for a lot of mapping games. But everyone who watches this channel probably has a pretty good idea of what war score is and what I mean by that. Basically, more cities means more land that you can take in a peace treaty. But not before Korea gets involved. Yeah, Korea, they're not going to pass up on this opportunity. Let's be real. This land was, I believe, once theirs. I could be wrong, but Korea is so old that I really am having trouble remembering the history of my own series. But these guys are not involved in the Cold War at all. They are a neutral power, just kind of focusing on themselves, doing their own thing, taking advantage of a distracted China, as we saw with their war on Japan and any possible future expansions such as this one. Of course, this one might be a little bit more dangerous since they are in, a direct confrontation with China. They're not at war, but like their troops are talking to each other with guns probably in their hands. Not the best thing that you want to be happening. But as long as you're chill, just be a chill guy, you're probably good. But Korea is more focused on just taking this southern region here. They're not too interested in going up into Siberia because who would be? They already have a majority of these islands, so there isn't much, logic in invading into Siberia. They'll take a little bit of this coastal area just because they can. But other than that, they check out of the war, and the Seafoam Green country no longer has any major cities, so they will be forced to surrender over to Russia, China, and Korea. This is the worst jumping of all time. Korea is probably a top 20 power, maybe top 15 power. China and Russia, number 2 and number 3. This guy, outside of the top 20. It's just horrible what these countries are doing to other countries nowadays. This is the final map, and this is it without cities. Looks kind of cool, but let's go ahead and get into this peace treaty. All right, so let's go ahead and break down this peace treaty. And first of all, I gotta say, there's gonna be some new provinces created. So, of course, provinces on this world map are not like final. They're just there. And if a country were to take over another country, they do have the right to rearrange or create or divide up those provinces. So, in the case of Russia, they will be creating one new province that is a city-state. If you saw the live stream that I did last week, you would know that there was a lot of city-state provinces created. This is no different from the other ones, and Russia mostly created this just so they can get access to this major city here. So if we go ahead and get rid of the province map, you can see that this city is a part of this province, which China got in the peace treaty. But since Russia had more war score than China, they can go ahead and claim this city and take it away from China and create its own province, as to where they don't have to take this entire province here, they can just take the city. Similar things happening over here. Korea doesn't want this entire province, they just want the southern half of it. So in their peace treaty with the Seafoam Green country, they just go ahead and create a new province and will take the southern half of it. Same thing over here. They don't want this entire province, so they'll only take the southern half by creating a new province in the region and allowing for the Seafoam Green country to keep the rest. So now we can go ahead and color in the claims. Russia gets all of that and these islands. And of course they get their city. China will get all the land over here in Mongolia, and Korea will get all their claim over here in the Siberian region. All right, here is our new map of Eastern Asia, and it's getting a lot less diverse over here. I will say that. Now the Seafoam Green country does still exist. However, they're not in the best of spots after losing all of these cities and half their population. Their capital city is under constant threat from both China and Russia, and they also lost a lot of coastal access from Korea, so things are definitely not looking too good, but they will stick around for now. Anyway, we now go over to the grand, great, and of course magnificent country of Somalia/Ethiopia. Fun fact, Somalia, real life, not actually a real country. Changed my mind. Anyway, these guys have quite an issue. Let's take a look at religion. Yeah, that's not good. So the country is divided between 3 different religious groups, both, well, I don't know if, I kind of want to call them by like what they kind of are. Like red is kind of Islam, but it's not Islam. But it like kind of like takes the shape of Islam, kind of in comparison to real life. But it isn't Islam, so I'm not going to call it Islam. But we have these 3 religions here: the Western European one, the Mesopotamian religion, and of course the Indian religion. And they're all kind of smushed together in this great country known as Ethiopia/Somalia. Same thing sort of in this scenario. And when you have that many religions kind of, button up against each other, not so good things happen. Just ask this. So the teal country here is gonna kind of just start falling apart. More so, there's going to be a bunch of separatist movements. So for example, Group 1 appears out of nowhere. This gold team is in strong favorability of the brown religion, as we see on this map here. They have a few groups dotted about, but this government is all for creating a new state, of which subscribes to, of course, the brown team religion, which is shared amongst a lot of this part of Africa over here in the southeast of the continent. But that's not all. The actual government of this country is more so of like a red team kind of religion since their capital is over here, but they're not like really super sold onto it. If anything, the government's very neutral in religion, which turns out you can't be neutral on it because you're fighting yourself now. Anyway, now we see another group pop up in protest to the current government. This one is focusing on just well, doing what the other one's doing and creating a new state that is focused on one religion and one central religion alone. Okay, so now the government is like, whoa, we're gonna need help with this, but it gets worse. Another group pops up. This group is fascist, our first ideological difference in the world other than democracy and monarchies. What is a fascist group doing in Africa? Well, fascism is mostly driven on hatred, and as you can see, there's a lot of diversity in this region, so it can happen. But these guys just want to get rid of everybody and just kind of make a new state that is not focused on religion and is instead just focused on like getting rid of other religions that aren't the red team's religions. So this country and this country have the same religion. You know, the teal one and the purple one, although they're fighting against each other, they have the same religion, but they have different ideals. This one is more focused on like a grouping of religions under one nation and unity. This one is just getting rid of all those other stinky religions because ours is better. But it gets worse. Okay, so as you can see on the religion map, the red religion is huge, but it's not all the same color. So the core red religion, this is the OG Mesopotamian religion. This lighter kind of reddish color is an offshoot of that religion. Now, it is kind of like you have Catholicism, or maybe I should say like Western and Eastern Orthodox Christianity, and then those all have their own like trickle down branches. It's kind of like that, but there really wasn't a schism, so they never split apart. It's just more so of this part of the world developed the religion differently, and this part of the world developed the religion also differently. So these two aren't the same, these two aren't the same, and these two aren't the same, but they have the same values and beliefs, just, you know, maybe different ways of practicing them, different ways of believing in them. It's still the same fundamental religion, just slightly different. But that still causes problems sometimes. I mean, just ask Western Europe and their Christianity. Like, that causes a lot of issues, not gonna lie. So, another group pops up. This one focused on uniting a new state under this pink religion, but also with unitary beliefs. So these guys have the same philosophy, kind of different religions. These guys have the same religion, way different philosophy. That's why, you know, this state has divided into three. And this region, you know, mostly is under the same religion, but differences in philosophy is changing that. So here we have our first ethno-religious mess, conflict of a war. And if this isn't treated right, this could very easily turn into a way bigger war. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is pretty simple, you know, the old empire will probably be helping out the teal country and they'll be able to wipe out all these other rebel groups. No, not that easy. Because if you look at the religion map one more time, you notice that a majority of Eastern Africa over here subscribes to the same religion as this movement does, and they would be more likely to support these guys. Also, India. Yeah, they are very likely to fund these guys in their independence movement. Western Europe probably doesn't care too much about these guys, since, you know, the closest country to them, in Europe at least, is like the Iberian/French country. They probably don't care. I mean, of course, this country was the colony of the Iberian one, so maybe they care, but more likely to care is like South Africa. These guys share a religion with them, and, you know, they might be supporting them. The old empire is likely going to be supporting these guys, and as for like everyone else, like this country right here, which is an ally to the old empire and in their economical alliance, is maybe likely to support the yellow one. So you can kind of see how this could get a little bit messy, very messy. Fortunately for this region though, and very fortunately in fact, there is no Russian or Chinese religion there. It is simply just like the European/Afro-Eurasian religions. So that's good. That will stop any escalation. But this war very well could start a huge war in Africa, but we'll have to see. Not gonna go ahead and sit here and pretend like I don't know that Africa is gonna like, possibly, maybe, perchance, maybe fall into a huge war that isn't really World War III, but is a continental war of great magnitude that is or is not going to lead into World War III as a whole because of the diverse implications of the wars and the religions and the old empire's exertions into the region and their overall imperialism on the world, which Russia and China may have enough of, but Russia and China, once again, hate each other, so they might just throw hands while they're at it as well. And, you know, the whole thing could just be blown up by a nuclear brigade that ends the series and leads into Season 2, a fully refurbished series launching on March 5th of 2025. Now, what part of that did I lie about? I'm very good at coming up with things off the top of my head, but I'm also very good at hiding information in that. So what was true about what I just said? That's up to you guys to interpret. Let me know in the comments what you think was true, what wasn't true. I will give a shout out to whoever gets it completely right. Of course, you might have to wait a little bit until all of the things that might happen actually do happen. But if those things don't happen, then your shout out will come way sooner. Good luck. And I doubt many of you even understood the whole rambling on that I just did. But anyway, that is actually the end of today's episode. This is the last pre-recorded Civilization video for a while. This is my last Saturday pre-recorded video. There's still going to be a pre-recorded video this upcoming Wednesday, but that'll be it until like January. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Freezoy, Zaylance, Georgie Badev, Deathlord182, Serminator, Pablo Sigma Cat, Deathstrider X, Hammertoad45, Connor the Gamer, Nevada Garbage Trucks, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.